Undertale is a game filled with possibilities. Paths where we can choose to exterminate every monster, or paths where our mission is to save them all. And the very thing that allows us to reset and explore every one of them is a game's most important element, determination. It's represented literally by Frisk's soul, and figuratively by our own curiosity and drive for discovery. It's the force that gives a seemingly innocent yellow flower the power of speech, and above all, it's what allows us to survive a fight that should be impossible. The battle against Asriel Dreamer, the final boss of the pacifist route, the god of hyperdeath whose mere presence should be terrifying, especially with his theme music, which fills us with determination. The setting for this battle is bleak. We can't save, our friends are gone, there is no hope. We're fighting a being who has absorbed 6 human souls and every single monster in the underground, and yet we refuse to lose. Why? To answer that question, we first need to understand the context behind this battle, and by extension, who we're truly up against. For many, Undertale is a video game that holds a special place in their hearts. It's an RPG adventure that defies genre conventions to deliver something truly unique. By deconstructing the traditional systems of combat, killing enemies, and leveling up, the very pillars of most role-playing games, Undertale transforms these actions into heavy moral decisions with narrative and emotional weight. What would be a simple mechanic in other games becomes an ethical dilemma here. Even the act of saving and loading your game, typically a quality of life feature, is transformed into a narrative and thematic tool. All of this forces us to reflect on the true impact of our actions, especially those that harm others. However, Undertale couldn't convey these ideas so powerfully without its central antagonist and the emotional finale of the pacifist route, where the game's message becomes clearer than ever. That antagonist is Flowey the Flower, or, as those who have played the game will know, as Prince Asriel. Son of King Asgore and Queen Toriel, was once the prince of the underground. Everything changed the day he found a human child who had fallen from Mount Ebott. Moved by compassion, he took the child home to his parents. Over time, the two became inseparable friends, like siblings. The human came to love their new family so much that they devised a plan to free all of monsterkind. The plan was for the human to die by poison, asking Asriel to absorb their soul, cross the magical barrier, and gather the remaining souls needed to break it for good. With a heavy heart, Asriel agreed. After the human died, he fulfilled their last wish. He carried their body back to their home village so they could see the golden flowers one last time. But upon seeing a monster carrying a human corpse, the villagers attacked him. Although Asriel had the power to defend himself, and even though the child's soul urged him to fight back, he chose not to respond with violence. Gravely wounded, he managed to return to the underground where he collapsed and died in the throne room garden, turning to dust alongside his friend's body. That seemed to be the tragic end of his story, if not for what happened next. Years later, as part of a series of experiments with determination, this substance was injected into the first golden flower that grew in the very garden where Asriel had died. This unintentionally brought Asriel back, but not complete. He was revived as a soulless creature, incapable of feeling love or compassion. At first, his father found him in this state, crying and afraid, but no amount of comfort could reach him. He couldn't feel anything. He tried to rebuild his life with his parents, but it was no use. Without emotions, in a world without his friend Chara, he fell into despair and tried to end his own life. But at the last second, something inside him screamed, "I don't want to die." It was then he realized he had gone back in time to his safe point, the garden where he was reborn. He had discovered that his determination allowed him to save and load time, just like in a video game. This was his point of no return. From that moment on, he left his name, his history, and his compassion behind. Asriel was dead. In his place, Flowey was born. With every reset, with every experiment designed to see how events would change, his mind became more corrupt. In his search for entertainment, Flowey began committing increasingly cruel acts. He went as far as murdering those he once considered friends and family just to see what would happen. But even that power eventually felt empty. After so many resets, after playing every possible game and winning and losing every imaginable scenario, nothing held his interest anymore. The world had become predictable, until one day, a new human fell into the underground, someone who resembled their long-lost sibling, a child with enough determination to even override his own. Flowey saw this new human as a chance to manipulate events for his own amusement. However, he soon noticed something strange. The child refused to fight. During their journey through the ruins, they avoided violence at all costs. This baffled and infuriated Flowey. In this world, it's kill or be killed. This is Flowey's philosophy, and it's not hard to see why. He died precisely because he chose not to attack the humans who assaulted him. He firmly believes it was that very compassion, that childish behavior that cost him his life. That's why he repeatedly tries to disprove the protagonist's actions, like when he murdered Asgore right in front of them, trying to prove that it has always been kill or be killed. Flowey sees himself on the child. He even projects his own traumas and insecurities onto them, remembering the first time he woke up as a flower in the garden, crying out for help, and how his cries went unanswered. That's why, near the end of the neutral route, he is convinced the same thing will happen to the child, that no one will come to help them. But for the first time, the world proves Flowey wrong. The human souls intervene to defend the child, offering aid against a cruel flower. And even after all the suffering Flowey has caused, the child refuses to meet his hatred with more hate, once again defying the kill or be killed mentality that defines him. Lacking a soul, Flowey is incapable of fully understanding this act of compassion. Overwhelmed, he breaks down in tears and retreats. For the first time, something seems to have changed in him, which serves as foreshadowing for the pacifist ending. Of course, this is just a hint of what's to come, because Flowey is still Flowey. After telling the player that a better ending exists, and pretending to have learned his lesson, Flowey once again uses the child to seize an even greater power. He steals the 6 human souls and, worse still, the souls of all the friends we've made along the way. He's convinced that this whole tragedy is the protagonist's fault, a result of their absurd goodwill. Listening, caring, comforting, loving, all of it has only led everyone to a horrible fate. He himself died because of that same compassion, and it frustrates him that the one he considers his best friend hasn't learned nothing. Adding to this is Flowey's twisted possessiveness. If the protagonist wins, if they get to have their own life, then the fun is over. Flowey has spent so much time alone, without Chara, and he refuses to let them slip away again. Even if his way of keeping them close is sadistic and warped, he is determined not to let that happen. But just as he's about to deliver the final blow, Toriel, Sans, Papyrus, and all the monsters the child met and helped stand in his way. They won't let Flowey get away with it, and once again, the world defies Flowey's worldview. However, the Twisted Flower still has one last trick up his sleeve. Taking advantage of the chaos, Flowey absorbs the souls of every monster in the underground, along with the 6 human souls, becoming a true god. At last, after so long, he reclaims his true form, Prince Asriel Dreamer. To the player's astonishment, the antagonist who has been sabotaging the journey from the very beginning turns out to be the same being who once wanted to save everyone. Chapter 2: Determination. The form Asriel takes is quite peculiar. While he naturally resembles Asriel and Toriel and appears to be an adult, his design has distinct elements. A sharper robe, black marks down the sides of his face, childlike facial expressions, and attacks with names a kid might invent. This all reinforces the idea that deep down, Flowey, and by extension Asriel, is still an immature child. And it's no wonder. Asriel never had the chance to grow up. When he was given a new life, he used it to reset the world over and over again just to keep playing. It's fitting that now, as an all-powerful god, all he wants is to go back to his childhood and play with Chara one more time. He is someone who has lived for a very long time, but has learned nothing. A child trapped in time, unable to mature. Stars fall from the sky, rainbow lightning bolts take aim, and blades slash toward the protagonist's soul. Asriel unleashes his full power in a cosmic spectacle, but none of it is enough to break the child's spirit. Not only do they refuse to die in this final battle, but even if you haven't gathered any healing items, the game itself offers the hopes and dreams options in the menu. These actions restore the protagonist's health and boost their defense. The efforts, dreams, and hopes of all the souls in the underground will not be in vain. This idea resonates even more deeply when we remember the name of the track playing during the fight: Hopes and Dreams. It's an epic, hopeful arrangement of Once Upon a Time. The same melody that marked the very beginning of the story now accompanies the child's final journey, bringing the story full circle. All of this unfolds against a vibrant, psychedelic, city-like backdrop. Far from being intimidating, this backdrop enhances the feeling of resistance, of not giving up. of reaching for the impossible. And it's strange, because in theory, this should be the most hopeless moment in the game. Asriel has more determination than the protagonist, the very substance that in this universe allows one to control the flow of time, reset everything, erase memories, and return the story to a save point. From a mechanical standpoint, the protagonist is at a clear disadvantage. They can no longer save, load, or reset. They've lost access to their most basic tools. And yet, this is one of the most determined moments in the entire story, because it's no longer about an RPG stat or a special power. It's about the feeling itself, the courage to press on, even when all seems lost. Asriel is astonished that we can withstand even a fraction of the true power he has unleashed. That's when he stops playing games and transforms into the god of hyperdeath. With just 1 HP left, he bombards us with devastating attacks. Even if we manage to endure them, Asriel can sense that each time we die, our connection to the world weakens. Little by little, our friends begin to forget us. The only thing we can do from the act menu is struggle. But even as we struggle, we can't move our body. We can't access our save file. It seems that saving the game is impossible now. But maybe, with what little power we have left, we can save something else. The save mechanic takes on an unexpected new meaning. It no longer refers to saving game progress, but to the ability to save someone. In this case, it's about saving the souls on the verge of fading into oblivion, hidden deep within Asriel's own soul, still faintly echoing. We remember each of our friends, who they used to be, and how much they've grown since we've met them. Undyne remembers that not all humans are evil. Alphys regains her memories, realizing that no one hates her and that there are people in this world who care about her. Sans lets go of his nihilistic view of the world. Papyrus understands that he doesn't need to capture a human to make friends. Finally, Asgore and Torio recover their memories, recognizing the protagonist as the future of their world. This sequence is made especially hopeful by the background music, Save the World, another remix of Once Upon a Time. Once again, the song that began the adventure is also the one that brings it to a close. After an emotional scene where we save our friends' memories, the game gives us the option to save someone else. It's clear who's left. The one who was denied the chance to grow up, who lost his way, the child who was once one of the kindest beings in the underground. Memories of Asriel begin to flash on the screen, showing who he once was and how he helped the child who would soon become their adopted sibling. For the first time in a very, very long time, Asriel feels love again, and he feels it now while possessing the power of every soul in the underground. This is where Flowey's arc, now as Asriel, concludes. He confesses that the only reason he's doing all this and why he wants to keep it going forever is because he believes the protagonist, whom he identifies as Chara, is the only one who truly understands him. After all, they both know the power that comes with determination. It's easy to see them that Asriel was only playing with the protagonist in a sadistic way because it was the only thing he had left in a monotonous existence. One of the few happy memories he still clung to. But now it's time to say goodbye, to end this game once and for all. It's time to let go. Asriel can't keep stealing everyone of their future because of his own trauma, insecurities, and whims. It's time to grow up. And now that he finally understands, Asriel gives us one of the most bittersweet scenes in video game history. For the first time in ages, he decides to use his immense power to help others. He shatters the barrier and returns the souls to their bodies, thus giving up his current form. In doing so, he will once again become Flower, soulless, emotionless, and condemned. He chooses to remain in the ruins where he can never hurt anyone again. If we decide to walk all the way back to the beginning of the game, we can find him there, quietly looking over the patch of flowers that marks where Chara, his best friend, lies. I've always found this scene to be deeply symbolic. The conflict began when Asriel died trying to return Chara's body to their village, laying it on a bed of flowers. And now, at the end of it all, he finds his final solace among flowers once more. It's as if the game is telling us that these characters belong to the past, but they were essential in building the future that now exists. After the emotional ending that closes the story, If you start the game again, Flowey appears one last time. He asks us to let go, to let Frisk be happy, and to leave everyone we helped in peace. He begs us not to reset everything again. It is at this moment that the arc of Flowey/Asriel comes full circle, perfectly encapsulating Undertale's core themes. Asriel finally accepts that the past can't be changed, that he can't keep clinging onto his childhood or to nostalgia. Even though he can no longer feel love, he understands that this doesn't give him the right to manipulate others' lives just to relive a memory. Having the power to alter someone's existence doesn't justify doing it. With great power comes great responsibility. As cliche as that phrase may sound, it, along with the game's nostalgic themes, captures the central message of Undertale. The player has the capacity to kill, to destroy, to alter the fate of every single character. But the real question is, should you? Doing the right thing, even when it's hard, is still the right thing. And that is a lesson Asriel finally learns when he chooses to sacrifice himself to give everyone else a future. To refuse that responsibility is, in essence, to prove Flowey right, to use power to manipulate, control, or hurt simply because you can.